True freedom begins the moment you accept the darkest truth. You wake up in the middle of darkness. Your eyes are open, but nothing you see feels like it belongs to you. The bed, the color of the walls, the calendar, the time your alarm goes off, all familiar. And you say, this is my choice. But start with one question. What if it's not? What if the life you think you control is actually made of 1,000 little illusions? When you open your eyes every morning, do you choose the clothes you wear, the music you listen to, the road you take? Or were those decisions made long ago? Are they products of algorithms, subliminal cues in ads, or fears you don't even know you have? You're walking down a hallway. In front of you are two doors. One says free will, the other says predetermined script. Which do you choose? And is the door you pick really your choice? Or is there something inside you in the darkness that made it for you? Because the human mind hates uncertainty, and to cover that hatred, there's a thin blanket. The illusion of control. In 1975, psychologist Ellen Langer conducted a simple but striking experiment. Participants were asked to roll dice. Some were handed the dice. Others were allowed to choose their own. Those who chose their dice believed they had a higher chance of winning. Same dice, same table, but the brain sanctified the act of choosing. I chose, therefore I'm luckier. This illusion didn't stay in labs. It lives with us, every day, every minute. The button you press to close the elevator door, the pedestrian crossing button you think changes the lights, the dopamine hit you get from liking something on social media. All these are tiny injections of control, but most are empty syringes. What is the brain's fundamental job? Survival. That's why it sees every uncertainty as a threat. And when uncertainty is the enemy, the weapon becomes control or its illusion. Neuroscience tells us the brain releases dopamine when it feels in control. This creates an internal reward system. That's why we feel good even when doing something with no actual impact. The strongest example? What's called placebo control. People attach emotionally to things that have no real effect on outcomes, like adjusting the office thermostat even though it's centrally controlled, pulling the slot machine lever even though the outcome is pre-programmed, skipping to the next song on Spotify even though the playlist is algorithmically generated. And here's the tragic part. Even when the brain knows these actions are pointless, it still needs them to calm itself. Because the anxiety of uncertainty hurts more than the fake relief that illusion provides. Why are we addicted to this feeling? Because uncertainty leaves us naked, and being mentally naked is humanity's oldest fear. So our minds create reasons for every blank and light for every darkness. But sometimes that light isn't real, it's a projector. Something behind the scenes is spinning the reel, and you think what you're seeing is reality. Maybe now, for the first time, you're finally looking at the projection screen itself. The illusion of control isn't just an academic concept. It lives in a grandmother checking price tags at the market, in a gambler pulling a lever, in a young investor checking his crypto. It's so embedded, we don't even notice. Let's start with pedestrian buttons. In New York, many don't actually function, but people press them. Because waiting is passive, pressing is active. It gives the illusion of agency. Same with elevator buttons. The door will close on its own, but pressing that button makes you feel like you're not just waiting, you're doing something. You become the one who makes the door close. In finance, most individual investors underperform the market, yet every trade feels like a result of their own genius. Because the stock market isn't just economics, it's an ego arena. And then sports, lucky jerseys, rituals, pre-game prayers. Maybe even God doesn't care who wins. But you believe wearing that jersey will affect the score. Because the score isn't in your hands, but the jersey is. These are masks of the same illusion. Sometimes it's a button, sometimes a prayer, sometimes a screen tap. This is where cinema shines. It shows what can't be said, makes you question what you see. Films where reality bends and free will is just a mask. These are visual echoes of the illusion of control. Truman Burbank's life is entirely fake. Everyone around him is an actor. The streets are a set. Yet he thinks he's just living a normal life. You who repeat the same daily routine, Are you that different? One day a stage light falls from the sky. It's Truman's awakening. And with him, we realize, maybe we never wrote the script. Maybe we only memorized the lines. Tyler Durden isn't a man. He's an escape plan. The repressed rage of modern humanity takes physical form. By the end, we discover the protagonist isn't free. Even his inner voice isn't his. Truth was decaying right under his nose. If you define yourself by what you own, when those things disappear, you disappear too. A punch to the illusion of material control. Friends gather, the universe splits. Each choice creates another version of reality. Which you is the real one? The life you chose, or the life you never could? The film wraps control, uncertainty, and identity into one suffocating experience. You leave wondering if you're in the wrong version of your own life. Morpheus asks, what is real? How do you define it? The Matrix posits that your entire life might be a simulation, that everything you think you control could be scripted. Neo's awakening, that's the illusion shattering, but the awakening only comes with a choice, red pill or blue, and this choice is yours, or is it? Is the choice really yours, or just something made to feel like one? A man tries to recreate life on stage, but as the set grows, his real life shrinks. Control becomes a curse. The more he tries to direct life, the more life escapes him. The film whispers, what you're trying to control might already own you. All these films prove the illusion of control isn't just psychological, it's cultural, it's existential. What are we really choosing? What are we truly living? What are we only imagining? Time to face those questions. When you open your eyes, the first thing you see is your phone screen, a notification from the night before. Prepared just for you. That sentence is a whisper from an algorithm making a world not yours feel like it is. Social media, entertainment platforms, news feeds, they all make decisions on your behalf. But you think you're the one choosing. The videos you watch on YouTube, the series lined up for you on Netflix, the posts that appear on Instagram. How many of these are truly your choices? And how many are curated before you even think to choose? Algorithms analyze your past preferences, but not just to understand you, to guide you, to keep you inside, to make you more predictable. This is a kind of digital determinism. Your past data maps your future, but you still think you're deciding. E-commerce sites say, you might also like, but another consciousness is operating in your place. Personalized offers, time notifications, limited time deals, all designed to trigger you. But how much freedom do you really have in those triggers? Have you ever opened TikTok just for a few minutes and lost hours instead? And in those moments, could you even say, I don't want this? Because the system had already calculated your wanting. This is the most insidious illusion of control. The content you thought you chose actually chose you. Now stop, take a breath in silence, because the darkest moment is right before dawn, and you've been in a long sleep. Yes, the illusion wrapped around you, but this awareness isn't a curse, it's a gift, because now you can finally see, truly see, and someone who has begun to see can never go back. Look inside into the darkness, because in that darkness lies the seed of your light. Taking back control doesn't start with changing the world, but with seeing yourself, being aware of your emotions, analyzing your reactions, questioning the life imposed on you. This is where real control begins. True freedom is born in awareness that promises you nothing. You've read this text. Maybe you're just watching a video. Maybe you were just curious, but maybe something inside you is starting to wake up. Control is yours, but first you had to realize it wasn't. Now you can awaken, or maybe not yet. Because awakening isn't a moment, it's a fracture, a deep crack in everything you believed was you. What if there's nothing to awaken from? What if this world, these thoughts, this self, were always part of the simulation? And what if freedom was just another room in the maze? You see, maybe control isn't something you take back. Maybe it's something you stop chasing. Because the chase, the need to own, to define, to fix everything. That's where they get you. That's the root of the illusion. But what happens when you stop? When you stop needing to be right. Stop needing to be certain. When you finally stand still and just watch. That's not passivity. That's clarity. That's when you start to see what was always moving you. So maybe the question isn't, is control real? Maybe it's this. Can you bear to live without control? Because if you can, you've already broken the loop. And that is where the real script begins.